On Production is brought to you by Wrapbook, the production industry's only on-demand payroll platform. With Wrapbook, you can pay your crew with a click and track all your costs in real time, all in one place. To find out more about how Wrapbook is transforming the way productions pay their crews, visit wrapbook.com. Welcome to On Production, brought to you by Wrapbook. Today, I'm joined by Steve Vitolo, the Emmy Award-winning founder and CEO of Scriptation. Steve has a rich background in television writing for shows like Blackish and his role in pioneering script management technology. Steve has a unique perspective on the intersection of creativity and technology in the entertainment industry. And so today, he's going to be able to share some of his insights into the evolution of the script process and how the impact of digital tools on production are impacting that type of work. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
So to start off, could you share with me your journey from writing for major TV shows to developing Scriptation? What sparked the idea for this transition?
How much time do you have? The impetus for Scriptation was, so my background is I worked as a assistant for far too long. So I started out as a production assistant, worked my way up into the writer's office, writer's PA, writer's assistant, script coordinator. And I was script coordinating a pilot that had a bit of an odd production schedule. It's a multicam pilot. So it was a 50-page script, and we had a table read, and then 2 weeks until we started shooting, which is not really normal for a multicam, at least. Usually have the table read and you start shooting a little earlier than that. And I was working with a showrunner that tended to rewrite a lot every night, sometimes even twice a day. And we weren't in a locked script, so we were putting out a 50-page draft, sometimes twice a day, and distributing it to 100 plus people. So, every single day it was at least 5,000 to 6,000 sheets of paper that was then obsolete by the next day. So I thought, I felt some responsibility, even though it wasn't my fault, but I was the script coordinator that was printing the script, giving it to the production assistant to then, make a billion copies to destroy the environment. And I thought, well, there's got to be a better way to do this, because everyone on the production was making a bunch of notes on their script and then having to redo all of their notes again. So the problems I was trying to solve was, can we go digital? And, the iPad, I think, had been out for maybe 2 years at that point. So it's like, sure, you can get people to move into a PDF annotation software. Adobe's been around forever. But then what happens when the new script revision comes? So the problem was, can you make notes on one draft of a script and have them transfer into the next draft of the script in the correct places and, be able to work kind of seamlessly there? So that was the problem. And I posted on Facebook to see if anybody knew an engineer that could do that. And I found somebody through a mutual friend, and we just started working together and then did a successful test of it. And I was like, this is kind of cool. I interviewed a bunch of people that I had worked with, because I had worked in the industry for a bunch of years at that point. Being a script coordinator, you're kind of talk with every department. You go to production meetings and tone meetings and things like that. So I just interviewed a bunch of people, and I said, would you go digital? And it was like, maybe, I don't know. I was like, well, what if we could transfer your notes? And everyone was like, yes. I will learn whatever I have to learn if you can do that. So
this particular pain point of notes being able to be copied over is this like extremely core insight into how to do this digitally, or actually to get people to convert. Can you tell me though, and our listeners, like, folks may not be totally up to speed on script management processes. Can you describe the role, how it's done today, how it's done with Scriptation? I'm just curious, what does the sort of script management process look like?
Yeah, I'll give you a very extreme example. Let's look at Game of Thrones. So Scriptation worked with Game of Thrones on the last 2 seasons of the show. And they told me, and this is not an exaggeration, they said they literally had over 100 revisions of a script. So what happens is, let's start at, I work in writer's room. So anywhere from, beats to outlines to let's go to the script now. So you have all these, different iterations of the story, and now you're at the script phase. So once you actually deliver a script, it could be the studio draft, the network draft, all the way up to the table draft. Once you have the table draft, you distribute the draft of the script. And then you could have a bunch of other drafts that you then get to a shooting draft or a production draft. And so all of those scripts all along the way are all completely, they're not locked pages, they're not locked scenes. Well, they're locked scenes at some point. But it's basically, if you have a 70-page script, you then print a 70-page script again. So everyone in the production, if they've made notes on the script, they'd have to remake their notes again or compare the drafts of the script. It's only when you get into production that then you have locked pages, which takes down the paper consumption a little bit, but you could have a blue draft or a pink draft or a green draft or a yellow draft, goldenrod, and so on. So you keep doing script revisions based on that. So it's a lot of paper. It's a lot of wasted time, either rewriting notes or even just getting, 15 blue pages or pink pages and then collating that into your draft, getting A pages and B pages. So what Scriptation does is kind of eliminate all that, where if you get a script distributed digitally, which everyone does at this point, instead of printing the script, you could bring your script into Scriptation, and then you hit one button, which is the transfer button, and it can bring all of your notes over from the first draft into the next in literally seconds. So it could cut down, potentially an hours long process of trying to see what changed. And Scriptation has a bunch of other features too, but that's kind of the big one that is a universal thing that everyone holds on to because everyone gets a script and almost everyone makes notes.
That seems like it was the major challenge that you were addressing in your earliest days. The business has been around quite a while, right? I mean, like north of a decade, yes?
Yeah, I mean, we incorporated, early, when I had the idea. I was like, I got to figure this out. So we incorporated at the end of 2013. It didn't get into the App Store at the end of 2016. And I was still working at the time, so it was sort of a hobby. But then in 2018, I went full-time into Scriptation. And about a year later, we started a subscription service, which kind of changed everything. Apple didn't really even allow that. I know if anyone remembers like the early days of Apple apps, just, you can't really make money. You can't really run a business that way. So when we went subscription, we were able to hire more people and do a lot more and really iterate on the product and make it a lot stronger. And, we keep going today.
How does Scriptation today, in your view, sort of enhance collaboration among writers, directors, and other sort of key personnel during the script development phase or even like nearing into production?
Yeah, good question. Because that is something that we're working further towards, collaboration. The initial, reason to create Scriptation was to allow an individual user to make their own notes on a script, and then move their notes from draft to draft. But we have, since started to get into more of a collaborative workspace as people want to communicate with each other more on set. So one of the things we did, this was during the pandemic, we worked with Saturday Night Live to build a feature called Live Layers. And what that does is it's not exactly real-time collaboration, but it's essentially real-time collaboration. So if all of us are working together on a script, I may not necessarily want you to see every single note that I make, especially in real time. That's going to get kind of annoying because my notes are for me, right? But sometimes I might want to share notes. So similar to if anyone's ever used Photoshop or other softwares like that, you can have layers. So we use that in Scriptation. You can have separate layers of notes. And if you're an individual, you could do that by maybe different departmental meeting or by different department. But what Saturday Night Live does is each person has their own layer of notes. They could join a group. And then if there are changes, because you can imagine Saturday Night Live, there are lots of changes and they don't have time to publish a script and send stuff out. So they might want to send write-ins and just push it to somebody else in that group. So they could make a note, hit a button, and essentially, push those annotations to another user or another set of users. And so if I'm sending annotations to you then you'll have my annotations on your script in its own layer of notes.
That's really cool. What other tools does Scriptation offer to kind of help these teams efficiently incorporate feedback and changes into scripts?
So we have a few different, so we started with note transfer, which is your own notes. And we also have a script comparison tool, which is, if you've ever used Microsoft Track Changes, it's similar to that. So we'll tell you what was added, what was deleted, and it'll look nice. It'll look like a script. So a lot of people, when they're transferring notes, they do that and they look at that comparison report. We also added an AI part to this where if you opt in, you'll send the script to AI and the AI will tell you what changed, more of it in plain English. And that's been helpful. We're planning to iterate on that. But a lot of the other features, we have lining features for script supervisors. We have tagging feature that we came out with last year. So that could be used to collaborate if you tag a bunch of items in the script. A lot of people will either take our PDF generated report and send that to other crew members, or they will take the Excel file and then do whatever they want with that and maybe send that file off or bring that into a scheduling software or things like that.
Steve, I'm curious, who are your power users? Is it the script supervisor? Is it a director? Is it an actor? Like who are your power users of the tool?
It's really whoever makes the most notes on a script. So who would you think that would be? Directors, DPs, line producers. So that's where it sort of starts to fall down. So directors and DPs were the people that gravitated the most towards the script because they make the most amount of notes. We got a lot of script supervisors using the software because they wanted a way to go digital. The pen and paper script supervisors wanted a way to go digital that was similar to pen and paper. And since Scriptation at its core is a PDF annotation app with the Apple Pencil, that makes it pretty easy. We've since built in lining features for them. And then since we, also have a lot of ADs because they make a lot of notes on a script, we brought a lot more in with tagging because a lot of people were making notes in a script and then having to then go to these other softwares or just go to an Excel sheet and then recopy that information over. But now with tagging, we have a lot of assistant directors doing it all in Scriptation and then importing that file. And we've integrated with a few other pieces of software, but bringing that file into other softwares or into their own spreadsheet. So we're trying to, we listen to our users, first and foremost, and they, help us drive some of the innovation that we do. But we're trying to listen to every single department, how we can improve workflows for each department.
Have you heard any cool stories or what are your beliefs in the ways that Scriptation sort of improves the overall efficiency and accuracy in the production process?
I think, we heard this early on, and the best compliment we got, honestly, was the director, this is very early, said, each week that I'm in production, I save, at least 5 hours. And that's some of that time I used to make the show better. And some of that time I used to go home and see my kids. So I think giving people back their time that they would otherwise be doing this tedious task. And then you could do whatever you want with that time. So maybe there's I'm hoping that we have an impact where we're helping users create a better product and create better shows, but also giving them time to, spend time with their kids and go home. And even then, if they're able to go home early and get another hour of sleep, that's also going to have an improvement on the next day.
Totally. I'm curious, you mentioned AI a little bit. I'm curious, Steve, how do you see the role of technology evolving in script development and production planning in the coming years?
It's a tricky subject, but you have to embrace it. That's where I start, because you can't be like Metallica with Napster and you have to embrace the technology and find a way to make your life easier without risking jobs. And also at that same time, jobs are going to change. So it's going to be a slow process. And we're trying to, you've heard a lot about responsible AI. So we are trying to our, I would say, AI journey, try and incorporate features that, a lot like note transfer are going to improve the daily work life for users, being able to have them complete tasks quickly or a lot quicker than they would have been. So, there are other softwares, I talked about tagging, where you'll be able to tag using AI. And that's something we want to bring to Scriptation. So that's an example of something that is not going to replace a job, but could potentially help you do your job faster so that you could do other things. There's some other things that we want to do too. We're going to sort of go where the industry goes with this. We're going to innovate in a way that we see, but also be very careful and follow the guidance of some of the guilds to not step on too many toes. And also, I know you had Guy Goldstein from Screenplay IQ about this, and I love his philosophy, where he's not, with Screenplay IQ, he's not giving you a score. Like, this is, what he's helping, he wants to help writers understand their own material better and become better writers. So we, have a very similar philosophy. We want to help you do your job better without telling you what to do, or, having the AI, take parts of your job away. That would be just a detriment to the whole industry.
Super fascinating. I'm curious, based off of your experience, do you have any advice that you would give to any up and coming sort of script supervisors, writers, or tech entrepreneurs kind of looking to make an impact in the entertainment industry?
Find a need that really exists, find a problem, and find a good solution. I've seen I'm sure you've seen this too, a lot of companies come along and some of them like, is that really a problem? So if you're, and my other advice for, I guess, tech entrepreneurs, just because I failed in this way, but my advice is, Scriptation is 95% B2C company. That's why, finding the problem that the users have is so important. We're strongest when we're working directly with the customers and not the larger studios. Yes, we have some deals with larger studios to help them, I guess, more or less manage users and sort of understand what's going on. But if you could really listen to your customers, find a need that your customers have and find a good way to solve it, that's going to save them time and potentially money, then you've probably got a good product.
That's great. Well, Steve, thank you for joining me and sharing with us about Scriptation and the ins and outs of sort of script management on set. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
On Production is brought to you by Raphook. With automated time card calculations, real-time production accounting, and payroll you can run with just a click, Raphook makes it easier than ever to manage your entire production from one login. To learn more about how Raphook is transforming payroll and production accounting, check out our website at raphook.com.